So, this is Monday evening. Wednesday evening, CNN is descending into the shit to put on its air, to endorse, to honor, to recognize, to glorify a sick son of a bitch who tried to overthrow the government of the United States, an attempt that resulted in 5 people dying, an attempt that has resulted in scores of people going to prison, and yet CNN is going to put this filthy man on television. Chris Licht, who is the chief executive of CNN, he took over last year. And when he took over last year, he made a promise to CNN's viewers. He said this, quote, "The analogy I love to use is some people like rain. Some people don't like rain. We should give space to that. But we will not have someone who comes on and says, 'It's not raining,' when it is." And yet, they're going to have this voracious, imbecilic, killer, gangster son of a bitch, Donald Trump, for an hour of glorification by CNN. When Licht made that comment, he was talking about guests who might show up on CNN by invitation, or the panelists, or the anchors, who might be pushing disinformation like, I don't know, election fraud lies. That's when he made the comment. But this Wednesday, the filthy, grifting, traitorous scum Donald Trump is going to be on CNN to participate in what CNN is with all the chutzpah of I don't know. I can't think of an analogy, a comparison. But they're going to put him on to participate in a town hall meeting. A town hall meeting with a man who led an insurrection against the United States, who tried to overthrow the government, who promoted violence, who is a lying son of a bitch who spent his entire presidency pumping out 35,000 verifiable lies. And CNN is putting him on the air Wednesday night. Why do you suppose they're doing that? Huh? Well, you would not be accused of being wrong if you considered that CNN management has different standards for Trump than it does for, normal people. I mean, I don't have to remind you, and you don't need reminding, how many lies, how much bullshit Trump has pumped into the political system in this country, especially about his claims that the 2020 election was stolen from him. And then hundreds of his supporters storming the Capitol on January 6th to prevent Congress from doing its constitutional duty. After the orange vomit said to them in a speech, quote, "If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore." And CNN is putting this son of a bitch on television this Wednesday at 8 o'clock. There you go, Eastern time. And I don't know if CNN management is being sarcastic or teasing or completely in the face of Americans, but CNN has vowed to hold Trump accountable during this town hall. Oh, really? A CNN spokesperson said, quote, "President Trump is the Republican frontrunner, and our job, despite his unique circumstances, is to do what we do best. Ask tough questions, follow up, and hold him accountable to give voters the information they need to sort through their choices, end quote. Oh, you fucking liars at CNN. You're doing it for one reason only: to get the viewers. You don't give a shit what Donald Trump says. You know he's a liar. You know he is a traitor to the United States. You know he's responsible for death and destruction. And yet you're going to put him on your air. Two of the people who make decisions at CNN in the executive suite, David Zaslav and John Malone, say they have been open about their beliefs that CNN should be less of what they call an advocacy network and more of a down-the-middle news network than what these two assholes considered CNN to be when Jeff Zucker was in charge during the Orange Traders' years as president. The executive David Zaslav said Friday on CNBC's Squawk Box, when he was asked about having Trump on for the town hall, Zaslav said, well, he should be. He's a Republican frontrunner. He has to be on. End quote. Wow. Now, this is worth noting. CNN has decided to do a live town hall rather than a taped interview, because a taped interview could be fact-checked before airing, before putting it out there for the millions of people who are going to watch this. But because the management, the upper level of management, CNN, has all of a sudden gone full-scale fascist, no, they're going to let him go on live. Taping this show and then broadcasting it would be a safer way to proceed. But you see, a live town hall is going to bring eyeballs to CNN, and that's all these son of a bitches at CNN care about right now. Just like Fox. Exactly the same thing. Oh, man. CNN is taking notes from the NBC town hall that Savannah Guthrie did in October of 2020, right before the election. But was that a miscarriage, huh? But if you remember, Savannah Guthrie consistently challenged Trump on his bullshit, his lies, but it didn't matter. Savannah Guthrie up against Donald Trump? Oh, please. Come on. Even though at one point she said to him, quote, "You're the president. You're not like somebody's crazy uncle." That's really being gutsy there, Savannah. That's going right for the jugular of this lying son of a bitch, huh? You're not like somebody's crazy uncle. Oh, my God. Now, the town hall that CNN is going to put out on Wednesday will be hosted by Caitlin Collins. She is one of the co-anchors of CNN's new morning show. And during the Trump administration, Ms. Collins served as CNN's chief White House correspondent. Well, la-di-da. Now, back to Zaslav. David Zaslav, who is one of the executives at CNN, he said, quote, "We have divided government. We need to hear both voices." What? If we haven't heard Trump's voice for 8 goddamn years, we haven't heard Trump's voice about overthrowing the government of the United States. We haven't heard Trump's voice lying about every fucking thing that the man can talk about. And yet David Zaslav says, we have divided government. We need to hear both voices. And then Zaslav added this, quote, Republicans are on air on CNN and Democrats are on air on CNN. All voices should be heard on CNN. You miserable son of a bitch. Even people who advocate the destruction of this country, even people who are anti-Semitic, people who would do everything they could to destroy the idea of gay people, trans people, people who are willing to allow children to be slaughtered in their goddamn schools, in shopping malls. And these bastards at management at CNN saying all voices should be heard. Even those, right, you miserable fascist pricks? Really? Wow. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.